Hey guys, what's up? It's once again mp4podcast.com. And G4 is going to cancel X-Play in Attack of the Show. G4 is also called G4 TV, whatever. I can tell you from firsthand experience that when I was dealing with G4, they're not really nice people at all. I mean, it's like kind of like, you hear from Hollywood people screw people. Well, it's actually true. And for you guys who don't know, who probably new to my channel, I worked on a fan-based comic book. It was called Battlestar Galactica versus Skynet. And I put a lot of the G4 people in the comic book. I put Kevin Pereira, Olivia Munn. There was other people in the comic book also. So, I sent it off to their webmaster. It was the only email I could really get from G4. Was the webmaster email, and he passed it over to the producers of Attack the Show. They loved it. They absolutely loved the comic book. So they contacted me and said, hey, we'd love for you to do a poster. I said, well, I'm not an artist, but maybe I could get one of the artists that worked on the comic book. Now, the kid who did the concept artwork, he was in Iraq in a combat zone working on this comic book. And they really didn't even care about that somebody who did this amazing work, which, 6 weeks to Comic-Con, they didn't have any promotional, anything to give out at the door or anything like that. And, it was really that kid who helped me initially that really sparked this whole comic book, and they didn't even care about that. And then basically when I was first talking to this kid, I told him what I wanted for costumes, like the designs, the military designs, the flight suits, and he drew all that stuff. And then the other artist, the first artist who worked on issue 1, he took those concept artworks and came up with new designs for the Attack of the Show poster, the designs for Fresh Ink. I believe there was actually just cutouts of the poster, and X-Play posters and stuff like that. So it's all based off of my comic book that I envisioned, the designs I had in my head. And then the first artist executed what I told them. And then this other artist, again, used the concept artwork that we came up with to come up with G4's material. So G4 actually loved the work so much. And the first artist, he was away. I couldn't get in touch with him, so I recommended the other artist. And, they got their poster for Comic-Con, and 2 weeks later, I said, hey, could you give us a plug? Because there was more than 2 artists. When there was another artist said, well, if they can just give us a little plug, I'll draw you the next issue. And I emailed them, and they said, well, one of the girls, the marketing girls, said, well, they know about it. If they want to, they will. Which is really extremely rude, because when I asked, when they asked me for help, I helped them. They came to me and asked me for help. When I asked for help, I couldn't even get a no, basically. Now, Kevin Pereira knew about this. I was actually friends with him on Xbox 360 and PS3. He even saw some of the concept artwork way before, but he did send a message, said, thank you, I'm not worthy, something like that. And it was extremely, in my opinion, it was extremely fucking rude in how they dealt with us. I was calling G4, and I called and I yelled at them. I said, hey, what you guys are doing isn't right, basing all these posters off our work. You won't even give us a little shout out. Well, somebody at G4, I guess who was in marketing, who was a little higher than the girl that dealt with me originally, picked up the phone. And he was really nice about it. He said, I'm not going to take G4's side, and I'm not going to take your side. I'm just going to look at this from a third party and try to solve this issue. And I was like, cool, man. That's all I'm asking for. So he looked into it, and he talked to G4's law office, and their lawyer said, it is G4's policy not to promote fan-based material. So he wrote back. He actually gave me his phone number where I could call him. He was that nice of a person. And he goes, "I'm sorry, man. Those are the rules. I can't change them." And I'm like, all right. I felt a little bummed about it, but I went back on the computer, and I knew G4 did promote some fan-based material before. They promoted a Lord of the Rings prequel movie, I believe, a Batman fan film, a Tron film, and a Tomb Raider fan film. And I sent that off. I emailed that stuff to that guy, and he was blown away. He goes, "They just lied to me," basically. He said something like that, contradicting what they're saying and stuff like that. So he said, "I'm going to look into it a little bit more, because if they're doing that and they won't help you, something's not right here." So, maybe another week or two goes by. He's talking to some big NBC executive, and he told me he was driving over to some game show. And he was talking to the NBC guy, and the NBC guy goes, "Oh, so you agree with them now?" And this other guy who was, trying to help me, he says, "No, I'm not saying I agree with him, but I can see his point." And that was basically what I wanted to hear, basically, for the most part. And then what happened, he was working on the situation. I don't know why he left. Maybe he didn't like working for G4. He went to work for another company. And then they got this other woman there, this other woman that replaced him. Actually, there was another woman who was subbing for him for maybe about a month or so. And I say, "Hey, you're going to talk to that NBC executive?" I was talking to her by the phone. And she had 2 meetings. He goes, "Oh, it was real busy. I didn't have any time." Well, I'm waiting to get an answer. It's been a few years, And, nothing. So then they hired a real person to take over that job where that guy left. And this woman wouldn't talk to me by phone. She just, said, "This is what the lawyer said." And she's like, "Go away." And I wrote back to her. I was like, I'm going to be quite frank. I said, "You're an asshole. Fuck you," something like that. I said, "You guys are fucking screwing us. I mean, you won't even fucking help us. And you're fucking out of fucking line and shit. You're basing everything off. All your marketing shit is based off of my comic book artwork that my friend drew in Iraq. And you won't even give us a plug." And they wouldn't fucking budge. They didn't give a shit. So I called them back and like, "You call us again, we're going to call the cops." So G4 TV called the cops. They called the LAPD on me. And LA detective called me. And we had a nice discussion. And I can prove all this with emails and screenshots. But, that'll probably be another video. And this LAPD cop started to agree with me, and how they dealt with it and how they were using people. And he went to talk to the people at G4, and one of the emails, I was talking to him by email, he goes, "I told them not to use people, and believe me, they got the point." And, he knew how crummy they were. And just to let you know, G4, about 8 months, maybe a year ago, I'm not really quite sure on the date, they found somebody on Reddit who had multiple accounts, like 30 or 50 accounts, who would post G4 stories, and then this person on Reddit would log in and out of like 50 accounts or so and upvote their own story. And once this kid came clean, or, "Oh yeah, I was cheating on Reddit," or something like that, G4 immediately came out. He says, "Hey, this is not what we were about. We're a clean company, blah, blah, blah. We're honest people, blah, blah, blah." And which was completely bullshit. I mean, here they're defending themselves over a, Reddit issue, but they won't even help us out. And, when Kevin Pereira when DirecTV dropped G4, Kevin Pereira was on Attack of the Show begging people to call DirecTV, asking for help. Please get us back on DirecTV. But when I asked for help, they wouldn't even reply. And there is a kid here on YouTube who was an intern at G4, and he said the people at G4 are really scummy. And I think one of the reasons because they probably pay people pretty low wages. They don't pay people good. There's probably a few people over there who probably get paid pretty good. Maybe some like the TV hosts or some of the top producers or the executives or something like that. Everybody else probably gets crap. And, he said it's a real dirty place to work. And I don't wish any ill will on anyone who didn't have anything to do with this. My issue with G4, but there is something else I do want to point out. Now, this has nothing to do with President Obama. It could be Mitt Romney. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with the President of the United States of America. That's President Obama. Okay, President Obama has nothing to do with this. I just want to make that very clear. Olivia Munn is going around supporting President Obama because she believes in President Obama. She has every right. Everybody in America has every right to support anybody who they want. Now, Olivia Munn, I don't know how much of the story she knows about the issue with My Comic Book, but My Comic Book actually helped, in some ways helped promote her career a little bit. Not a lot. I mean, just a little bit. Okay. And, if she knows about the situation and she didn't even say nothing about it, that's kind of low too, but you would go and feel so strongly about a person that you would want this person to be president. Meanwhile, an American soldier got screwed and helped you with your career a little bit. That's all I'm saying. So, there's a lot of things about G4. It's a real scummy company. And don't again, please don't turn this into I'm not bashing Obama. Obama has nothing to do with this at all. I'm just saying it could have been Mitt Romney. It doesn't make any difference who the person is supporting. I'm just talking about Olivia Munn. That's it. And I know she has a copy of My Comic Book that's in a DVD case. I burned them onto CDRs with the comic book files and the viewing software. So, I don't know how much of the story she knows, but maybe she heard it within the office or something like that. Maybe she heard about it when G4 TV called the cops on me. She probably knew about it. But artwork that helped promote her, which is my friend who's an American soldier was in Iraq, and she didn't even say, hey, what you're doing to these guys is wrong. Maybe she did. I don't know. Maybe she did say something and they didn't listen to her. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe she did try to help us out. I don't know. And again, this has nothing to do about President Obama. All I'm saying, if she did know at the time about the issue and didn't say anything, then it was also kind of sleazy of her. And I think somebody who would not stick up for an American soldier should not even be voting at all. You shouldn't vote for anybody. Okay? Because at that point, you have no patriotism. That's all I'm saying. And again, I could be completely wrong on Olivia Munn. And again, this has absolutely nothing to do with President Obama. Okay? This has nothing to do about the presidential race at all. I want to be very clear about that. Also, I do want to say the producer who, also, loved my artwork is the producer of the Jimmy Fallon Show. And he's a little bit of a scumbag, I guess, also. He didn't help us out at all, and it's kind of sad. So that's my story on G4, and anybody who's there who knew about it or whatever, even the marketing people, I'm glad that they're going to be out of a job now because they didn't help us when we were in a jam. There's probably still a few people that were over there. I think that marketing girl and some other girl took advantage of us. The other people who had nothing to do with it, I don't have any problems with them. Blair Butler, she did benefit a little bit from our comic book. She was a host at Fresh Ink, and she was in a few of the posters that was based off of my comic book and the artwork that was from my comic book. So again, I don't know if she knew about the issue at all, but even if she did, I wish she would have said something, because Kevin Pereira definitely knew about it, but he really didn't give a shit about helping anyone. So that's pretty much my story. This is mp4podcast.com. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel. Take care, guys. Love you guys. Bye.